My son needed a life-saving liver transplant, but she was traveling the world for 20 days with her lover. I pleaded with her for 20 days, and she kept making excuses. Then she turned around and posted travel photos with her lover on social media. I waited outside the operating room until my son took his last breath. When she arrived, she actually overturned my son's body, insisting we faked his illness to trick her. Later, when her lover's son needed a kidney transplant, she immediately agreed to donate a kidney. I divorced her on the spot and blocked her. In the end, her lover drugged her and removed her kidney, and during an argument, they both fell to their deaths from the 6th floor. My son was gravely ill, desperately needing a liver transplant. My wife, Victoria Davis, was the only match. I pleaded with her for 20 days, and she finally agreed to return and donate her liver. I waited outside the operating room all day, but she never showed up. That very day, Victoria Davis' childhood sweetheart, Julian Blackwood, posted photos of their world trip on social media, making a heart gesture. Day 20 of our world trip. Drive. Davis gave up her fellowship program to help my son realize his dream of a world tour. Only then did I realize that on the first day I pleaded with Victoria Davis, she had already left to travel with Julian Blackwood and his son. That evening, I received a call from Victoria Davis. Daniel Hayes, Liam Blackwood got a perfect score on his final exams, and his wish is for his mom and dad to travel the world with him. You know, he doesn't have a mother. I couldn't bear to let his wish go unfulfilled. We'll be back in 3 days. Soon after, I'll donate my liver to our son. 3 days later, when Victoria Davis arrived at the City Medical Center, she only saw our son's death certificate. In the City Medical Center morgue, I looked at my son Leo Hayes' serene face, my heart aching to the point of suffocation. Leo Hayes had always been so sensible, never causing me much worry, but I couldn't even guarantee his health or his life. My son suddenly suffered liver failure, and urgently needed a liver transplant. The only match in our family was my wife, Victoria Davis. However, the day after the matching results came out, she was sent abroad for a prestigious fellowship program by the agency. On her first day abroad, I pleaded with Victoria Davis to come back and donate her liver to our son. She said the fellowship program was a rare opportunity, and she didn't want to give it up. Midway, I pleaded with her for another 18 days, but she still heartlessly refused. On her 19th day abroad, the doctor said his condition had worsened, and it would be best to get a liver transplant as soon as possible. I pleaded with her again to come back and save our son first, but she said if she left mid-program, her career would be over. She told me to transfer our son to the University Medical Center and find more people for matching. The University Medical Center was overflowing with patients and refused our admission. Helpless, we had no choice but to return to the community hospital. My son was tormented by the illness, his face pale. He looked at me with hopeful eyes. Dad, why isn't Mom back to see Leo Hayes yet? Is Leo Hayes not a good boy? Did he make Mom angry? I didn't know how to comfort my son, only thinking that perhaps I hadn't explained clearly enough, leading Victoria Davis to mistakenly believe Leo Hayes' condition wasn't serious. So, I once again appealed to Victoria Davis, bringing our son's attending physician with me, begging Victoria Davis to return quickly and save our son. With a colleague's corroboration, Victoria Davis finally relented, agreeing to take 2 days off to return and donate a liver to Leo Hayes. But on the day of the surgery, I sat outside the operating room all day, waiting. What I received was the news that my son had passed away before he could be saved. Victoria Davis still didn't arrive. I took out my phone, wanting to ask Victoria Davis why she hadn't come. Instead, I saw the photos Julian Blackwood had sent me. In the photos, Victoria Davis was holding Liam Blackwood's hand, nestled in Julian's arms, smiling brightly. My hands trembled as I opened Julian Blackwood's social media post and saw the glaring content, making a heart gesture. Day 20 of our world trip. Drive. Davis gave up her fellowship program to help my son realize his dream of a world tour. If Julian Blackwood hadn't posted that on social media, I wouldn't have known that the wife my son and I desperately waited for was actually traveling the world with someone else's child. I held my son's already cold hand, my heart aching to the point of suffocation. Just then, Victoria Davis called. Daniel Hayes, Liam Blackwood got a perfect score on his final exams, and his wish is for his mom and dad to travel the world with him. You know, he doesn't have a mother. I couldn't bear to let his wish go unfulfilled. We'll be back in 3 days. In 3 days, I'll donate my liver to our son. My mind went blank. If it had been a day earlier, I would have jumped for joy. But now, I couldn't be happy at all. My son's life was less important to her than a stranger's wish. Victoria Davis must have sensed something, as she anxiously asked, "Daniel Hayes, why aren't you saying anything?" I came back to my senses, and asked what was on my mind. "Victoria Davis, do you know how serious our son's illness is?" Victoria Davis froze. She seemed to only just realize that Leo Hayes' condition couldn't be delayed any longer. "Daniel Hayes, don't worry, I'll buy a plane ticket back right away." On the other end of the phone, Liam Blackwood innocently asked, "Mommy, Liam Blackwood wants to go to romantic Paris for the last stop. Will you go with Liam Blackwood?" Victoria Davis thought for a moment and then said to me, "Daniel Hayes, a friend at University Medical Center said Leo Hayes' condition wasn't critical, and treatment in 3 days would still be fine. Please be more understanding and wait for me to come back." I should have known this would be the outcome. Ever since Julian Blackwood returned home divorced, Victoria Davis' heart and mind had been completely occupied by Julian Blackwood and his son. She promised to celebrate our son's birthday, but stood us up because Liam Blackwood had a cold. She always said Liam Blackwood didn't have a mother, and she had to take care of him, telling my son and me to be more understanding. She gave our son's birthday present to Liam Blackwood, telling us to be more understanding. She cancelled a family gathering to take Liam Blackwood to the amusement park, telling us to be more understanding. She knew my son and I would forgive her, that we would wait for her, so she brazenly ignored us and hurt us. But this time, I didn't want to be understanding. Because my son had no future, and my marriage with Victoria Davis had reached its end, I hung up the phone and began preparing the body for viewing for my son. Before my son entered the operating room, he asked me hopefully, "Dad, will I see Mom when I wake up?" I answered firmly, "Yes, Leo Hayes will be fine after a good sleep." But in the end, Leo Hayes was disappointed. Until his death, Victoria Davis never came back to see him. Perhaps it was a premonition, but Victoria Davis kept sending text messages asking about Leo Hayes. I just watched her messages silently, neither replying nor blocking her. The next day, I arrived early at the City Medical Center to arrange Leo Hayes' funeral, but unexpectedly, I ran into Victoria Davis there. Julian Blackwood rushed into the City Medical Center, holding Liam Blackwood. Victoria Davis ran beside him, yelling at the nurses, "Quick, save him!" Others quickly moved aside to make way for her. I couldn't avoid her in time and found myself blocking her path. She stopped abruptly. "Daniel Hayes, Liam Blackwood suddenly fainted. I need to take him for a checkup first." I nodded, stepping back 2 paces to clear her way. Victoria Davis looked at me, bewildered. She didn't understand why I had become so understanding. Before, when she showed favoritism towards Liam Blackwood, I would always object and complain. Now, I was silently and willingly making way for her. "Daniel Hayes, don't be angry. I am going to donate a liver to Leo Hayes right now." Saying this, she released Liam Blackwood's hand and came to pull me. Julian Blackwood caught up from behind, grabbing Victoria Davis' hand. "Victoria, please don't go. Daniel, I know you hate Liam Blackwood for taking Victoria's affection, but Liam Blackwood is just a child. Please let him go." Under Julian Blackwood's tender offensive, Victoria Davis chose to leave with Julian Blackwood, without looking back. A young nurse nearby comforted Julian Blackwood. "Don't worry, brother-in-law, drive. Davis is known for being madly in love with her husband. As long as you ask, there's nothing Davis can't do." Unlike those shameless other men, who don't know their place, the people around us, like sharks smelling blood, began discussing frantically, "So he's the other man. A grown man acting as the other man, showing no shame in front of the legitimate wife. How thick-skinned." Exactly. Earlier, when his son was admitted, he even claimed to be Davis' husband and wanted us to arrange for a retired professor to operate on his son. What a shameless other man. It serves that illegitimate child right to die. Originally, Victoria Davis said she wanted to separate work and life, so she never brought my son and me to hospital events, nor did she want her colleagues to know about my son and me. After Julian Blackwood returned to the country, she said Julian Blackwood was unfamiliar with the place, so she took him to hospital events, and generously introduced him to her colleagues. When her colleagues smiled and said the brother-in-law was handsome, Victoria Davis smiled and tacitly agreed. All the hospital colleagues believed Julian Blackwood and Liam Blackwood were her husband and son. Conversely, they thought my son and I were just a shameless other man and an illegitimate child. In the hallway, Victoria Davis stopped me. She stepped forward, intending to kiss me, but I turned aside to avoid her. "Victoria Davis, This is your workplace. Victoria Davis' hand froze in midair. She pouted and acted playfully toward me. Daniel Hayes, please don't be angry, okay? I'll go donate a liver to Leo Hayes later. I lowered my head to hide my emotions. It's not needed anymore, because Leo Hayes had passed away, and a mother who broke her promise had no right to see him again. If Leo Hayes knew that the mother he longed for had been traveling the world with someone else's son, how heartbroken he would be. Victoria Davis sensed my sadness. She took 2 boxes from her bag. These are gifts for you and Leo Hayes. The box for Leo Hayes contained a Transformer action figure. I looked at the Transformer action figure, and momentarily lost myself in thought. Last year, for Leo Hayes' birthday, Victoria Davis was on a business trip abroad. Leo Hayes wanted an authentic Transformer action figure, and Victoria Davis video called him so he could choose one. But when she returned, that authentic Transformer action figure was already clutched in Liam Blackwood's arms. Leo Hayes cried for the Transformer action figure, and Victoria Davis, with a cold expression, criticized Leo Hayes for being petty and fighting with his brother over a toy. Now she had bought the Transformer action figure Leo Hayes had always wanted, but it was too late. Leo Hayes was no longer here. Seeing my lack of reaction, Victoria Davis grew anxious. She took my hand, just about to say something, when Julian Blackwood entered. Victoria, the doctor says Liam Blackwood has leukemia and needs a kidney transplant. Victoria Davis' eyes filled with anxiety. Don't be afraid, I'll go for a matching test right away. I won't let anything happen to Liam Blackwood. She left me and followed Julian Blackwood away. I called out to her, Victoria Davis, aren't you going to see Leo Hayes? Victoria Davis paused. Julian Blackwood quickly answered, Daniel, please don't compete with me. Liam Blackwood is waiting for Victoria to save him. Victoria Davis let out a sigh of relief. Daniel Hayes, don't be angry. I am a doctor. It's my duty to save lives and help the injured. Wait for me, I'll be there in a moment. With that, Victoria Davis pulled Julian Blackwood and hurried away. I watched their backs and murmured, no need, Victoria Davis. I heard the nurses discussing that Victoria Davis' kidney was a match, and she had already signed the donation agreement. She could undergo the kidney transplant after a week of rest. Although I already knew the outcome, my heart still ached uncontrollably. After running around all day, I found an empty office to rest. As soon as I entered, I ran right into Victoria Davis and Julian Blackwood, passionately kissing. Seeing me, Victoria Davis quickly pulled away from Julian and tried to explain to me, Daniel Hayes, Liam Blackwood is sick. I was just comforting Julian. I couldn't help but say sarcastically, does comforting require kissing? Victoria Davis wanted to explain further, but Julian Blackwood grabbed her hand, his eyes red-rimmed. Daniel, don't blame Victoria, I was the one who kissed her first. I mocked him mercilessly. You must be really desperate. I'll take anything. After saying that, I turned and left. Victoria Davis followed me out. Daniel Hayes, listen to me. I only see Julian Blackwood as a brother. Julian Blackwood's voice was hoarse from behind. Victoria, the doctor says Liam Blackwood's condition is critical, and he needs an immediate transplant. After a moment of internal struggle, Victoria Davis explained to me, I'll donate a kidney to Liam Blackwood first. She still left without looking back. How ironic. Her own son needed a liver transplant, and Victoria Davis stayed far away. Her childhood sweetheart's son needed a kidney transplant, and Victoria Davis immediately donated a kidney. It turns out that love and lack of love can be so obvious. If I had realized it earlier, if I hadn't placed my hope in Victoria Davis, Leo Hayes might not have died. At that moment, I completely gave up hope. I went home to pack my bags. I took all of Leo Hayes and my belongings with me. Since I chose to end it, I wanted a clean break. After packing everything and printing out the divorce papers, a faint light appeared on the horizon. The sun was rising, and a new day had arrived. I walked into the first rays of morning sunlight, leaving the home where Victoria Davis and I had spent 10 years of our lives together. As I hailed a taxi, I opened my phone, and Victoria Davis messages flooded in, one after another. I am donating a kidney to Liam Blackwood tomorrow at 9 a.m. Come early to take care of me. Liam Blackwood can't drink water or eat anything after the surgery. Prepare some cotton swabs to moisten his throat. Don't worry, once I am recovered, I'll donate a liver to Leo Hayes. When Leo Hayes gets better, let's travel the world together. We'll go to Switzerland to see the northern lights, ski in the Alps, and experience the most beautiful scenery around the world. I closed the messages and laughed mockingly. Victoria Davis, we have no future. At 8 o'clock, I took Leo Hayes' body to the funeral home, but at the corner, I ran into Victoria Davis. Daniel Hayes, what's this? I looked at her coldly. Victoria Davis, Leo Hayes has passed away. The cremation is at noon. Are you willing to come with me now to say goodbye to him? Victoria Davis stepped back 2 paces. Impossible. How could that be? Julian Blackwood supported Victoria Davis. Daniel, why do you keep wishing bad things on Leo Hayes? Leo Hayes is perfectly fine. Julian Blackwood repeatedly spoke nonsense and provoked me, and I couldn't help but slap him in the face. Julian Blackwood licked the corner of his bleeding mouth, looking at me provocatively. So Daniel is losing it, and resorting to violence because he's been exposed. Enough. Victoria Davis snapped, and the noisy environment suddenly fell silent. Victoria Davis walked closer, step by step, staring at me fiercely. Daniel Hayes, I just didn't donate a liver to Leo Hayes as you demanded. Do you really need to lie to me? She violently overturned the gurney carrying Leo Hayes' body. With a crash, Leo Hayes' small body fell to the ground in front of us. Leo Hayes. I frantically picked up Leo Hayes' body. Victoria Davis squeezed Leo Hayes' hand hard. Leo Hayes, stop pretending, get up now. I furiously pushed Victoria Davis away, yelling with bloodshot eyes. Victoria Davis, are you crazy? Can't you see Leo Hayes is gone? Victoria Davis fell to the ground, letting out a scoff. Daniel Hayes, let's see how long you can keep up this act. I am waiting for you to beg me to donate a liver to Leo Hayes. With that, she left with Julian Blackwood. At noon, I watched my son's small body being pushed into the crematorium, tears rolling down my face again. From now on, it would just be me. I put his ashes into an urn, and sat with him until sunset, all day. Victoria Davis hadn't asked a single question. That was fine. Let Leo Hayes depart with beautiful memories, and don't let Victoria Davis make his peaceful rest unpleasant. As the last bit of sunlight was swallowed by darkness, I thought my 10-year marriage with Victoria Davis had also reached its end. When I got off the plane, Victoria Davis messages flooded in. I am sorry, Daniel Hayes, I was too impulsive today. I'll donate a liver to Leo Hayes tomorrow. Please don't be angry, okay? I know he's still angry. I am sorry. I'll prove it to you with my actions. I'll definitely be there on time tomorrow morning. The emotions that had finally calmed down collapsed at that moment. How ridiculous. My 10 years of knowing and loving her, plus my son's life, couldn't compare to a single word. Victoria, from Julian Blackwood. Even with my son's body lying in front of her, Victoria Davis still thought my son and I were faking it to trick her. Those happy memories flashed through my mind like a revolving lantern. When I had a fever, her red-rimmed eyes. When she learned my parents had passed away, she hugged me, comforting me that I still had her, that she would always be with me. When Leo Hayes cried at night, she held him and soothed him all night long, her back as she shielded Leo Hayes when other children bullied him. One scene after another, they all ultimately froze on the moment she overturned Leo Hayes' body, squeezed Leo Hayes' hand, and told Leo Hayes to get up. That's enough. Let bygones be bygones. Let love and hate be as they are. That's how it will be. I blocked all of Victoria Davis' contact information and started a new life. Victoria Davis suddenly became afraid as she lay on the operating table. She stopped the surgery, tore up the agreement, and terminated the donation. Julian Blackwood was in disbelief. He grabbed her hand and knelt on the floor, begging her to donate her liver to Liam Blackwood. Victoria Davis pulled her hand away. No, I have to donate a liver to Leo Hayes. I can't abandon Leo Hayes. Julian Blackwood froze, then looked surprised. Victoria, Leo Hayes is dead. He doesn't need a liver donation. Please, will you donate a kidney to Liam Blackwood first? Victoria Davis stood stunned. She took out her phone and kept calling, but it kept saying the call couldn't be connected. At that moment, a large part of her heart felt empty. You said Leo Hayes is dead. I don't believe it. I am going to donate a liver to Leo Hayes. You'll have to find someone else for Liam Blackwood. No sooner had she spoken than a stranger handed Victoria Davis a document. Ms. Davis, Mr. Hayes has entrusted us to deliver this notarized document to you. Victoria Davis opened it, puzzled, and stared at the notarized document of Leo Hayes' death certificate. A taste of blood suddenly filled her throat. Julian Blackwood grabbed Victoria Davis' hand triumphantly. Now do you believe it, Victoria? Leo Hayes is really dead. He doesn't need your liver anymore. But Liam Blackwood needs you. Hurry up and donate your kidney to him. Victoria Davis' eyes were bloodshot, veins bulging on her arms. She violently pushed Julian Blackwood away. It was you. Julian Blackwood was thrown back, his forehead hitting the ground hard. Red blood immediately appeared on his fair forehead. You did this on purpose, didn't you? Julian Blackwood shrunk back. I don't know what you're talking about. Victoria Davis pounced on him, gripping his neck, and snarled, you deliberately asked me to travel the world with you, deliberately posted photos on social media to provoke Daniel Hayes, deliberately seduced me in front of Daniel Hayes. Julian Blackwood's face was flushed, but he still smiled, provoking Victoria Davis. Victoria, didn't you know Leo Hayes needed a liver transplant? Daniel Hayes begged you 30 times, but you were the one who refused. To put it bluntly, you were just afraid of dying, you bitch. Now that Leo Hayes is dead, what kind of good mother act are you putting on? Shut up, stop talking. Victoria Davis yelled, cutting Julian Blackwood off. The glass door of the operating room reflected her disheveled appearance. Yes, she knew her son needed a liver transplant, but she still insisted on leaving. Was it really because she was afraid of death? Absolutely not. She had always loved Leo Hayes, and she had always loved Daniel Hayes. All of this was because she had been misled by Julian Blackwood and his son. They were to blame. Victoria Davis grabbed Julian Blackwood's arm, and bit down hard. Even as Julian Blackwood's arm bled profusely, she didn't let go. When the nurses arrived with the police, they saw the usually dignified and elegant Drive, Davis acting like a madwoman, trying to kill her husband. I returned to my grandmother's childhood home, a small county town in the mountains of Willow Creek. The scenery was beautiful, and the people were very warm. On my first day home, the neighbor brought me loquats and fresh vegetables she had grown herself. A neighbor helped me clean the house, and told me stories of my parents' young love. With their company, the empty part of my heart didn't ache as much. After Victoria Davis gave birth to Leo Hayes, she suffered from depression. To help her recover, I quit my job, and became a stay-at-home parent for 6 years, allowing her to return to her career. These 6 years had left me out of touch with society. Now, looking for a job, I suddenly felt lost and didn't know what to do. I searched for over 10 days but found nothing. My neighbor Sam was taking the civil service exam. Seeing me struggling to find work, he pulled me along to analyze civil service job openings. After some analysis, we actually found positions I could apply for. Sam was even more excited than I was. He helped me create a study plan, shared his study materials with me, and we prepared for the exam together. Every day, we woke up at 6 to memorize the general knowledge section and analytical writing section material. We started doing practice questions at 9 in the morning and then graded each other's papers and analyzed mistakes in the evening. We repeated this routine every day, and 3 months later, we both landed a government job. The moment we saw the employment list, Sam, a grown man, squatted on the ground and burst into tears. He had been studying full-time for 3 years, just barely missing it each year. This time, he finally succeeded. I patted him on the shoulder, comforting him, and comforting myself as well. The past hardships were over. We had to look forward. I officially started my new job. My colleagues at the agency were very kind, knowing I was alone. Some helpful older female colleagues eagerly tried to set me up with dates. However, I had no intention of remarrying, so I politely declined each time. The dates understood and backed off. But there was one person who said she wouldn't give up. From then on, Audrey Miller became my pursuer. She relentlessly asked me to movies and treated my office colleagues to coffee or tea. My colleagues all advised me to try dating her, but I couldn't get past the emotional hurdle in my heart. The turning point came on a rainy night. After working overtime that day, I encountered a heavy downpour. I started walking in the rain but met Victoria Davis at the agency's entrance. She was completely soaked by the rain, but her formerly vacant eyes immediately brightened when she saw me. Disregarding my objections, she rushed into my arms. Daniel Hayes, I finally found you. Seeing Victoria Davis, my heart felt nothing, neither love nor hate. I calmly said, Victoria Davis, let go, we're already divorced. Victoria Davis cried hysterically, Daniel Hayes, I didn't sign the divorce papers. We're still married. What happened to Leo Hayes was my fault. Julian Blackwood and his son led me astray. Please forgive me, can we start over? I pushed Victoria Davis away and looked into her eyes seriously. Victoria Davis, we can't go back. I have no right to forgive you. It's Leo Hayes you wronged. Victoria Davis froze for a moment, then suddenly hugged me tighter. Daniel Hayes, it's okay, we'll have another child. and Leo Hayes will be back. Saying this, Victoria Davis leaned in to kiss me. I was furious and ashamed. Victoria Davis, please have some self-respect. Victoria Davis didn't listen. Instead, she held me even tighter, clinging to me like an octopus. Let him go. Just then, Audrey Miller arrived. She swung her bag and hit Victoria Davis hard in the face. Victoria Davis cried out in pain and let go of me. Audrey Miller stood in front of me. Victoria Davis' eyes widened as she demanded, "Who is she?" "Danielle Hayes. We're not even divorced yet, and you're already with some other woman. Have you no shame?" The heavy rain kept beating on my face, but the physical pain couldn't compare to the pain in my heart at that moment. Before I could speak, Audrey Miller swung her bag again. "Shut your filthy mouth. A dirty mind sees everything as dirty. I am the one pursuing Danielle, you homewrecker." Victoria Davis' cheeks were swollen and red from the blows. Hearing Audrey Miller's words, she started laughing wildly again. "I knew it. Danielle, you still love me." Victoria Davis stared at me, and her gaze made my skin crawl. I pulled Audrey Miller. "Let's go." Victoria Davis shouted behind me. "Danielle Hayes, I'll wait for you. I'll definitely come back to me." I didn't take Victoria Davis' words to heart, but the next day, Audrey Miller was arrested by the police. The reason was intentional assault. I knew this was Victoria Davis' way of forcing me, but I had no choice but to meet her as she demanded, in the City Medical Center. Victoria Davis' face was a swollen, bruised face. "Danielle Hayes, here." She carefully peeled a mango and offered it to me. "Danielle Hayes, have some fruit." I laughed mockingly. "Victoria Davis, I am severely allergic to mangoes. You've never remembered that. It's your first love, Julian Blackwood, who loves mangoes." Victoria Davis was embarrassed. She threw the mango into the trash, her hands fumbling around, not knowing where to put them. A moment later, Victoria Davis said pleadingly, "Danielle Hayes, if you forgive me, I'll drop the lawsuit. You know, for someone in the public sector, having a criminal record means their job and career prospects are gone." I sneered. "I forgive you, then what?" Victoria Davis is still so disgusting and shameless. Victoria Davis didn't care that I was cursing her. Her eyes lit up, and she said excitedly, "If you forgive me, can we start over?" She knelt on the ground, holding out a ring. "Danielle Hayes, I love you. Let's start over." Victoria Davis' swollen, bruised face, combined with her seemingly heartfelt expression, made me burst out laughing. "Victoria Davis, ask Julian Blackwood if he agrees." I blocked Victoria Davis' contact information, but forgot to block Julian Blackwood. Through Julian Blackwood's social media updates, I learned about Victoria Davis and Julian Blackwood's situation over the past 6 months. Victoria Davis had chickened out and refused to give Liam Blackwood a kidney transplant. Julian Blackwood couldn't find a suitable kidney donor, and his health was deteriorating. Julian Blackwood was anxious and kept pestering Victoria Davis to fulfill her promise, but Victoria Davis kept avoiding him, even resigning from City Medical Center and disappearing. The moment I saw Victoria Davis yesterday, I decided I would tell Julian Blackwood her whereabouts and let him torment her. While Victoria Davis was frowning in thought, Julian Blackwood walked in. "Victoria, I've been looking for you so hard." Julian Blackwood lunged towards Victoria Davis, but Victoria Davis quickly stood up and dodged him. Julian Blackwood missed. Victoria Davis pointed at Julian Blackwood and cursed, "Why are you here again? I told you, I won't donate a kidney to your son. If it weren't for you, Danielle Hayes wouldn't have left me. Leo Hayes wouldn't have died, and you still expect me to save your son's life? Dream on." Victoria Davis wrestled Julian Blackwood to the ground and beat him violently. I pretended not to see, then called the police when it was almost over. Due to insufficient evidence, Audrey Miller was acquitted. Victoria Davis, however, was jailed for 15 days for intentional assault. Because of this incident, my opinion of Audrey Miller changed, and I slowly began to accept her kindness. After some time together, my feelings for Audrey Miller quickly grew. I curiously asked Audrey Miller why she had pursued me so persistently. Audrey Miller looked at me seriously and told me why. Only then did I realize that she was the little girl who used to follow me everywhere when I was a child. Every summer, my mother and I would return to my grandmother's childhood home to escape the heat. There was always a little girl who followed me around, wanting to play with me. I played with her for 4 years. In the 5th summer, she came carrying a basket of mushrooms, told me she liked me, wanted to marry me, and said the mushrooms were her dowry. My mother playfully teased her, telling her to bring another basket of mushrooms next year, and she'd consider it. Unfortunately, the next year, my parents died in an accident, and I never returned to that village. My childhood memories were blurry, and I never expected her to remember a childhood joke so deeply. Audrey Miller sighed, saying the world was so vast that she had searched for me for over a decade without any news of me. She also couldn't help but marvel that we had a fated connection, and after all these years, we still met again. I also lamented fate's capriciousness. If I had met Audrey Miller instead of Victoria Davis from the beginning, perhaps those tragedies would not have happened. Thinking of this, I told her about my past with Victoria Davis. Audrey Miller hugged me, her heart aching, and comforted me. She went hiking with me, took me for walks to clear my mind, and cooked delicious meals for me in various ways. She slowly healed the wounds in my heart. After Victoria Davis was released, she went to confront Julian Blackwood. Julian Blackwood was submissive, served her good food and wine, and humbly admitted his mistakes to Victoria Davis. Victoria Davis, for old time's sake, accepted Julian Blackwood's apology, but after drinking the wine Julian Blackwood offered, Victoria Davis lost consciousness. When she woke up again, Victoria Davis' right abdomen was wrapped in bandages, bleeding profusely with every movement. Victoria Davis didn't know what had happened, but her doctor's intuition told her that her kidney was probably gone. Victoria Davis didn't dare to be careless and immediately called 911. The ambulance and police arrived at the same time. After an investigation, the police allowed the ambulance to take her for emergency treatment. After the examination, the doctor regretfully informed Victoria Davis that her right kidney was missing. Because of the crude surgical technique, her left kidney even showed signs of infection and necrosis. Now, she had to undergo another surgery to clean the wound. Victoria Davis called me countless times, wanting me to sign the surgical consent form for her and take care of her. I directly refused. When she called again, Audrey Miller answered for me. I don't know what she said to Victoria Davis. After the surgery, Victoria Davis, as if she didn't care about her life, dragged her sick body and knelt directly at my office door. Daniel Hayes, this must be God's punishment for me, punishing me for not donating a liver to Leo Hayes, punishing me for not being a qualified mother. Now I've paid the price. Please, for the sake of my punishment, will you stay with me? Now I finally understand how you felt then. I am sorry to you. And Leo Hayes, I am truly an animal. Daniel Hayes, as long as you can forgive me, I'll do anything. Victoria Davis slapped herself while speaking. I looked at her coldly. Victoria Davis, sign the divorce papers and disappear from my life, and I'll forgive you. Victoria Davis stared at me blankly. I met her gaze calmly. You've fallen in love with the woman who cooks for you every day, haven't you? I nodded in admission. 10 minutes later, Victoria Davis gave in. She looked dejected and said softly, okay, I understand. Victoria Davis signed the divorce papers and disappeared from my life. I saw Victoria Davis and Julian Blackwood again in the courtroom. I sat in the jury box, and Victoria Davis sat in the plaintiff's seat. Through the lawyer's account, I finally understood the whole story. To get Victoria Davis' kidney, Julian Blackwood drugged her wine, then took advantage of her unconsciousness to have a doctor he had arranged in advance remove Victoria Davis' kidney. Julian Blackwood flew back to Riverdale with the kidney, and had it transplanted into Liam Blackwood. By the time the police arrested Julian Blackwood, the transplant surgery had already been completed, and Victoria Davis' kidney could not be recovered. Victoria Davis was enraged and swore to make Julian Blackwood pay. In the courtroom, Julian Blackwood mocked Victoria Davis, calling her a coward, afraid of death, who signed the donation agreement, but chickened out at the last minute. Victoria Davis was hit where it hurt and hastily tried to explain to me, no, that's not it. I did it because I wanted to donate a liver to Leo Hayes. Watching Victoria Davis' terrified expression, I felt an unspeakable sense of irony. Julian Blackwood smiled and asked, Victoria Davis, have you told the lie for so long that you believe it yourself? You said then that Leo Hayes was a lowlife and didn't deserve your liver. That's why you traveled the world with us. You said that with Leo Hayes dead, you could raise Liam Blackwood as your own son, right? You're just afraid of death, you're a coward and a wimp. Enough. Shut up. Victoria Davis yelled, cutting Julian Blackwood off. I watched them bicker, coolly observing. At the end of the trial, Victoria Davis surprisingly chose to settle. Julian Blackwood compensated Victoria Davis with a total of $2 million for various damages. A month later, I received my final divorce decree from Victoria Davis. Victoria Davis looked at me affectionately. Daniel Hayes, if there's an afterlife, please let me make it up to you. I stepped back 2 paces and shook my head, refusing. Victoria Davis, I hope we never meet again. Victoria Davis left dejectedly. 10 days later, Victoria Davis' lawyer called me. Mr. Hayes, Ms. Davis passed away 2 days ago. She left a will before her death, donating all her property to you. Please come to the law firm to complete the procedures. I was stunned. How could Victoria Davis, someone who cherished her life so much, suddenly die? The lawyer told me that Victoria Davis' health had been very poor ever since her kidney was stolen. A few days ago, her left kidney became infected again, and she had a persistent high fever. While she was delirious, Julian Blackwood showed up, claiming Liam Blackwood was experiencing organ rejection. He demanded Victoria Davis refund the money, or donate her other kidney to Liam Blackwood. They had a fierce argument. During the argument, both fell from the 6th floor window, dying instantly. I couldn't help but reflect that, in a way, this was fate's grim fulfillment of their childhood sweethearts' bond. After inheriting Victoria Davis' estate, I donated all the money to the Children's Disease Foundation, hoping it could help more children overcome their illnesses and have a brighter future.